Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Monday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather and sports. I am Diana Master. In the news tonight, the National Housing Enterprise has dismissed Urban and Rural Development Minister James Sankwasa's call to build 10,000 houses a year, saying its official annual target is just 2,000 units. The response was given months after Sankwasa publicly questioned the state-owned housing developer's relevance, criticized the pace of delivery, and warned that the institution risks failing its mandate. NHE spokesperson Mutonga Matali told Namibian Sun Sankwasa's call should be viewed as a broader national housing goal involving multiple stakeholders rather than a target assigned exclusively to NHE. He said the 10,000 target forms part of a coordinated effort involving local authorities, government ministries, financiers, and private contractors under the Informal Settlement Upgrading Affordable Housing Program. He added that engineering designs for civil and electrical services covering 4,215 urban in various localities have already been completed, with implementation now awaiting budget allocations from the ministry during the 2026-2027 financial year. Nearly 100 housing units were completed between November last year and March this year, most of them in Swakopmund and Walvis Bay under the ISUAHP program, through an accelerated delivery model involving multiple contractors. NHE's comments come against the backdrop of sharp criticism leveled by Sankwasa 8 months ago during the handover of 52 NHE-built houses in Okakarara. At the beginning of my term, I directed the NHE to give me at least 2,000 houses for this year. I have not received any feedback until now, Sankwasa said. He stressed that the 2,000 houses were expected to be entirely new projects, and the minister questioned whether NHE was moving fast enough to address Namibia's acute housing shortage and warned that failure to achieve its mandate raised questions about the institution's continued existence. I expect NHE to be constructing at least 10,000 houses annually, Sankwasa declared. The pressure on NHE has been compounded by its own financial challenges. Namibian Sun previously reported that an internal memorandum from Chief Financial Officer Beverly Vuggs warned that the enterprise was facing serious liquidity and cash flow constraints, limiting its ability to initiate new capital projects. In our next story, Telecom Namibia has rolled out a strategic transformation and repositioning program aimed at modernizing its operations, improving customer experience, and restoring public confidence after months of repeated service failures and growing public frustration. The state-owned operator says the program is designed for long-term sustainability in a highly competitive telecommunications market while accelerating digital transformation and network upgrades. The announcement comes against a backdrop of inconsistent service delivery, with customers across the country enduring recurring outages, slow internet speeds, and aging infrastructure that has repeatedly failed to keep up with demand. The company has already acknowledged that the disruptions were caused by a combination of aging equipment, hardware failures, unstable international connectivity routes, and widespread copper theft and vandalism affecting critical infrastructure. The situation prompted intervention from the Communications Regulatory Authority of Namibia, CRAN, which engaged the operator on the 3rd of June following months of complaints over network instability and poor service quality. CRAN said the outages recorded between January and May were not isolated incidents, but widespread system failures affecting mobile data, voice calls, and SMS services nationwide. CRAN Chief Executive Emilia Nyikembwa said the disruptions were linked to multiple failures across access systems, power supply, fiber and transport infrastructure, as well as rising copper theft incidents, which have now exceeded 80 cases in just 4 months. Following the engagement, Telecom Namibia committed to mediate short-term stabilization measures, including replacing vulnerable equipment, strengthening backup power systems, improving international connectivity routes, and intensifying efforts to curb theft and vandalism. In the medium to long term, the operator is expected to implement a turnaround strategy that includes upgrading backbone capacity, expanding international bandwidth, overhauling core and billing systems, and gradually shifting away from aging copper infrastructure. CRAN has given the company 4 months to complete the short-term stabilization program and warned that enforcement action, including fines and penalties, will follow if compliance standards are not met. On the consumer side, strict quality of service rules remain in force, requiring complaints to be acknowledged within 24 hours, most faults resolved within 14 days, and 90% of faults cleared within 48 hours, with full resolution within 5 working days. Getting into our next story, the City of Windhoek has launched an investigation into businesses suspected of operating without the required health and sanitation approvals after observations by Network Media Hub raised concerns about commercial operations functioning without access to basic facilities such as toilets and running water. The concerns center on several businesses across the capital, including a vehicle dealership operating from an open site where no visible sanitation facilities or water supply could be identified. Responding to questions from NMH on Friday, City of Windhoek spokesperson Lydia Amutenya said the municipality had not granted formal approval for vehicle sales activities at one of the locations brought to its attention. No formal approval has been granted by the City of Windhoek for vehicle sales operations at this location. As such, the activity is not currently authorized under any approved zoning or land use framework for this purpose, she said. According to Amutenya, the site has not been formally designated or approved for commercial vehicle trading, although an application seeking approval has been submitted and remains under consideration. The revelation has raised questions about how businesses are able to operate in areas where the basic services required by workers and customers are not visibly available. Amutenya stressed that businesses may only operate legally from approved premises and that obtaining a certificate of fitness is a prerequisite for conducting commercial activities. She said the city assesses compliance with public health and sanitation requirements before issuing a certificate of fitness and continues to monitor compliance through statutory inspections. Health and sanitation requirements are governed by the General Health Regulations contained in Government Notice 121 of 1969 as amended. The regulations require businesses to provide adequate sanitation facilities and access to water, among other standards. Asked how the municipality ensures compliance in open industrial areas and roadside trading locations, Amutenya said inspections are conducted at approved business premises. However, she acknowledged that the city may not always be aware of activities taking place at unapproved locations. In our closing of our top stories, following an assessment of the challenges facing Engela Hospital on Friday last week, the Governor of Ohangwena, Kadiva Hamutungwa, acknowledged that the shortage of medication constitutes a government concern. She stated that addressing this issue will be their primary priority and they will submit reports on the status of hospitals within the Ohangwena region to the central government. She said having patients sent home with no medications or given alternative medications is unacceptable. She further reported receiving complaints from elderly that prescribed alternative medication for hypertension, that they are experiencing symptoms such as coughing and other illnesses.
I have seen today with my naked eye lack of medication. That is the biggest elephant in the room. And with a population such as ours, it is a very, 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 very sad that we are sending people back home without medication. It is not your problem. It is a government problem. And it is something that now that I see it on the ground, we can provide a status report on Ohangwena region in terms of what is really happening in terms of medication. It is unfortunate that our community members, they are getting now, what do you call it? Alternative. And then the strokes and so on are happening. The community has reported to me that because of the change in the high blood pressure medication, some of the elderly are starting to cough and actually have symptoms like that. I don't know if it came up, but you've spoken of the stroke. So this is something that we'll take seriously as a leadership. We know that it's a country-wide problem, but I think we are going to look at Ohangwena region. I'm going to Enana now and we are going to see what is the situation with Enana District Hospital. But that is number one of priorities that we will have to, on your behalf, take up as well with central government to look at what is it that can be done, because we cannot have patients come through to the hospital and patients are going back for the most important.
Stick around. Right after the break, we bring you our Community Talk segment.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
Tonight in our Community Talk segment, a blocked sewage system at Ndama Clinic in Rundu has reportedly left wastewater flowing around the facility for nearly 3 months, raising serious health concerns among patients and community members. Ndama East Community Development Committee Chairperson Katukora Egbert says the problem has persisted despite efforts by clinic staff to seek assistance from higher authorities. He has called for urgent intervention, warning that patients, including pregnant women and children, are being forced to access healthcare in unsafe and unsanitary conditions.
My name is Katukora Egbert. I'm a community leader in Ndama East region. Let me say location. I have been here for quite a while, and today I have been called by one of the members of the community regarding this situation in Ndama Clinic. The situation is still worse than before because this has been happening for quite a while. This situation has been for almost a 3-month period, which we communicate to see what transpired and why they didn't get any solution on this one. The staff have been trying all the best which they try to see or to knock to the doors where help needed to save this community. But none of those who are on higher level could come in to solve this issue. We happen to find it so difficult anyway. You are saying it's a health facility where you see all over the water from the sewage. If you go in the rooms, there is all over waters. And people are here for healthy. And how do we intend people to get healthy in this kind of situation where it is? It's very painful to me as a community leader. We cannot tolerate such a way or such attitude of the facility of healthy. We are calling upon the director of health care, inspector, whoever he is in the position of helping, he must address this issue as quick as possible. For the healthy facility must be in a healthy condition. There are a lot of kids and a lot of people, ladies who are pregnant here, around here. And if you find yourself in this situation, this water... You are flushing the toilet, it seems the waters are coming also out.
The latest in economic news to come right up after this break. Headlining our economic news, Namibia's poultry industry continued to grow in the first 4 months of 2026, with strong increases in chicken and egg marketing, while the dairy sector faced declining domestic production and rising imports. According to the Livestock and Livestock Products Board Statistics Commentary Report, year-to-date, chicken marketing reached 6.86 million birds by April, up 12.3% from 6.11 million birds during the same period in 2025. Egg marketing rose by 27.5% to 41.88 million eggs. The LLPB said the figures highlight the poultry sector's growing contribution to domestic food security and consumer demand for affordable protein. Despite the growth in local production, poultry imports remained an important part of Namibia's supply chain. Year-to-date imports of poultry and poultry products fell from 11.4% from 8.05 million kilograms in 2025 to 7.13 million kilograms this year. In our next story, Jason Kasuto, chairman of the Economic Association of Namibia, thanks partners for their involvement with preparations for the 4th Namibia Oil and Gas Conference, scheduled for the 18th to the 20th of August 2026 at the Mercure Hotel in Windhoek. The media launch for the event, being promoted under hashtag Namibia OGC26, was staged this morning at Petroleum House headquarters for the state oil company NAMCOR. Ogeto Greg was there.
Welcome. We're deeply honored to be in the House of Oil for Namibia, NAMCOR, and appreciate their partnership because it carries us through. Of course, as the moment requires, there's the acknowledgements of those in the room. Cons Karamata, our Chief Executive Officer of the Economic Association of Namibia, without whom we could not really be doing the running and making sure that platforms such as this are working smoothly. Mr. Shakwa Nyembe, our partner, Managing Director of SNC Incorporated. SNC has played a very big role in ensuring that we are able to bring those that are needed to discuss the issues of oil and gas, and we appreciate you, SNC Incorporated. Mr. Tundeni Dafaya Rako, I think he must be represented here, MD of NAMCOR, and Paulo, I see you're here. Ms. Jessica Hawanga, I also think she's being represented by NIPDB.
And now let's take a look at the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 21.83 against the British pound, 18.84 against the euro, 16.28 against the US dollar, and 2 Namibian dollars and 41 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. Looking at commodities, gold and platinum on an upturn of 1.47 and 1.80% respectively, while copper and Brent crude oil took a downturn of 0.46 and 1.54% respectively. And now getting into our international news. South Africa has repatriated 2,745 foreigners in the week after President Cyril Ramaphosa vowed tougher action against illegal immigration, the country's Home Affairs Minister said on Sunday. One of Africa's largest economies, South Africa has long attracted migrant workers from across the continent, both legally and illegally, but saddled with an unemployment rate above 30%, it has experienced recurring spurts of anti-immigrant unrest, including fresh violence in recent weeks. Mobs of South Africans carrying sticks, whips and shields have marched through parts of the country, ordering foreigners with no residency papers to leave by June 30th. Growing security fears after businesses were looted and foreigners targeted have prompted citizens of Nigeria, Malawi, Ghana, Zimbabwe and Mozambique to accept voluntary repatriation organized by their governments. Now, the government said most of those repatriated were in the country illegally. They include Malawian nationals, about 7,000 of whom have been sheltering in an open field in the eastern port city of Durban, according to an interministerial migration committee set up after the president's address. 8 buses commissioned by the Malawian government began moving its citizens on Sunday, with South Africa providing 10 additional buses to speed up deportations, the committee said. Among those boarding the first buses, some carried babies on their backs and small bags of belongings. Last week, Ramaphosa acknowledged public concerns over illegal immigration, but warned authorities would not tolerate anyone taking the law into their own hands. Tensions escalated after 2 Mozambicans were killed following a May 29th march against illegal migrants in the western Cape town of Mossel Bay. Mozambican authorities put the toll at 5. There are more than 3 million foreigners living in South Africa, or 5.1% of the population, according to the Statistics Agency. Now, before we get into our sports news, let's take a look at the weather predictions. Oshakati can expect partly cloudy conditions and maximum temperatures of 26 degrees Celsius and minimum temperatures of 14 degrees Celsius. In Windhoek, it's bright, clear and sunny skies and maximum temperatures of 21 degrees Celsius and minimum temperatures of 8 degrees Celsius to be expected. Looking over at the coast in Walvis Bay, it's clear, sunny conditions. Maximum temperatures are expected to be at 16 degrees Celsius and to drop to 11 degrees Celsius. In Oranjemund, some showers are expected and maximum temperatures of 19 degrees Celsius, and the lowest will be 11 degrees Celsius. And now, here's your sports news with Ari Hogad.
Good everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with soccer news first. It is the Soccer World Cup that started in America and in Mexico and in Canada. It's also a good start for one of the co-hosts, that is United States, that beat Paraguay in the first game, and that was convincing by 4-1. And also mixed results for the South African, or the African teams rather. It was over the weekend Morocco that had a good result, a 1-1 draw against Brazil, and also a very good start for the Ivory Coast. That was in Group E. They beat Ecuador by 1-0. Difficult start for Tunisia. They lost 5-1 against Sweden. That was in Group F. And Bafana, South Africa, that also lost their first game against Mexico. They will play again on Thursday. That will be against Chechnya. That game will be played in Atlanta. In cricket news, it is the Women's T20 World Cup that also started. That's been played in England and Wales, and a good start for Australia, beating South Africa by 65 runs in their first group game. And it is South Africa that will next play against Pakistan. It was Pakistan that had a difficult game against India, and India that won that game by 64 runs. Also a good result for the West Indies. They chased a big total of 163 to win, and they beat New Zealand by 7 wickets in their first game of the tournament. On to golf news. Next, it is a part of the PGA Tour. It is the Canadian Open, and the winner there was Bud Cauley of the United States. He finished with 5 under par round for a 4-round total of 17 under par. His first win ever on the PGA Tour. And the second place, Matt Fitzpatrick on 15 under, and Victor Hovland on 14 under in third position. Then also it was the Comrades Marathon, the uprun that was concluded over the weekend on Sunday. It was 2 South Africans that won, and it was in the men's division. It was George Kusher. He is from Pretoria, and he won in a record uptime of 5 hours, 16 minutes and 6 seconds. And then in the women's side of the marathon, it was Gerda Steyn that won. It was the 5th title that she won, and it is also up record for Gerda Steyn, 5 hours, 44 minutes and 53 seconds to win the Comrades Marathon 2026. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we'll talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. I am Diana Master, and this has been Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.